Hey all, my name is Kurt. Welcome back to SLB Basement Bourbon Bar. Today we have another special spirit review show. In the past we've done You Only Need 5 bourbons. We've also done You Only Need 5 scotches. So today we're going to cover You Only Need 5 rye whiskeys. I know you're saying you only need 5? Yep, you only need 5 rye whiskeys. I was shocked. I honestly and truly, when Trent and I were going through our pile of rye whiskeys here, and we had Michelle helping test as well, taste testing, trying to come up with our 5, I had no idea how many rye whiskeys we had here and how many quality rye whiskeys we have, but we have narrowed it down to 5. Before we get started though, if you would please hit that subscribe button. Once you've done that, hit that notification bell, and that way you won't miss a single episode of the show. Also, this is a prime opportunity to leave your comments, because I would love to hear your opinions on these particular categories of rye whiskeys. All right, our categories are as follows: cheap mixer, a daily drinker, Friday night pour, impress your guest, and a special occasion rye whiskey. Very first of all, we're going to start with our daily drinker. I did it again. I've got to admit, my daily drinker, let me just pull it out for you. My daily drinker is this Pikesville straight rye whiskey. And as you can tell, it's empty. We drained it out the other night, and unfortunately, I don't have a backup for this one yet, but there will be one soon back on the shelves here at SLB. Why I'm commenting that I did it again is because this particular Heaven Hill release, this Pikesville rye whiskey, is going to run you about $45. Now, I did that with our bourbon choices too when I picked the Wild Turkey Rare Breed, because it's just a tad bit more expensive, right around the same price range, $45 as this Pikesville. But I can't help it, I have to be honest. If I'm going to pick a rye whiskey to be a daily drinker, it's absolutely going to be this Pikesville straight rye. This Pikesville whiskey is at least 6 years of age, and probably why I picked it as a daily drinker, it's barely in the category of a rye whiskey. You have to have at least 51% rye in the mash bill of the whiskey in order to be a rye whiskey. This is 51%, so you're just right on the bubble. So this leans a little bit towards bourbon. It has some beautiful creamy sweetness, some honeyed rye and cloves. It's just a very, very nice rye whiskey to sip neat, to tell you the truth. It does come in at 110 proof, but it really doesn't drink that hot. It honestly does not. I'm sure it's enjoyable over ice, but honestly, I usually enjoy this Pikesville rye neat, and that is my daily drinker. The next category I have for you is a cheap mixer. This was a tough choice for me to make. I have a few different rye whiskeys here in the bar that I reach for at different occasions. I really like the Old Forester rye. Really like the Wild Turkey 101 rye when I really want to get a strong rye punch in a particular cocktail. But I had to go with Rittenhouse Rye Bottled in Bond. This is another Heaven Hill release. Of course, being bottled in bond, it comes at you at 100 proof. But for the most part, this Rittenhouse Rye, if you have any cocktail that calls for a rye whiskey, this just has such good rounded out flavors and a little bit of a rye spicy punch. It'll go well with any cocktail that you would mix. It would go very well. The reason why I didn't pick, let's say for example, the Wild Turkey 101 rye, because like I said, it has a real high rye punch to it, and it just doesn't go well with certain cocktails. But this Rittenhouse is an extremely well-balanced cocktail. It has some nice dried fruit, some grain, and some brown butter flavors. It's just really going to be excellent in any cocktail that you want to make, and you can get it for around 20 bucks. And you can't beat that for an excellent rye whiskey cheap mixer. Now we're going to dive into our choice for rye whiskey on a Friday night pour. I have to be honest, I'm really excited about showing you this particular bottle. It is absolutely one of my favorites. It's the Willett Family Reserve 4-year rye. This bad boy here comes at you, well, my particular bottle is 111.6 proof. But as you can see, there's very little left of this bottle. It is a little bit harder to find, I will grant you that. Now, I'm not sure about what area that you live in, but in my area, I will see this particular bottle for $60 to $65, maybe 3 or 4 times in a year. And trust me when I tell you, when I see it, I usually grab one. Like when this is gone, I have 2 more sitting in the closet, ready to go on the shelf, because I just absolutely love this rye. This rye whiskey, the Willett Family Reserve 4-year, has so many applications. This is absolutely fantastic over a block of ice. This is an unashamed rye whiskey that will punch you in the face. It's got a high rye mash bill. It's spicy and it's just bold, and it just reaches out and grabs you. I can't really describe it any better than that. It's got some lovely light sherry and citrus notes with a little bit of grain and just a touch of chocolate. But my absolute favorite Manhattan cocktail rye whiskey is this one right here, this bad boy. If you want to step up your Manhattan game, find you a bottle of this Willett Family Reserve 4-year. Also enjoyed on its own. I preferably drink it over a block of ice, but it's neat. It's just got whatever you choose, you do you, but it's got some amazing flavors. Very bold. I love it. Our next category is Impress Your Guest. And man, do I have an awesome rye whiskey to show you that will impress any guest that you might ever have. It's last year's 2020 Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Special Release Rye. I mean, I gotta be honest, it's Jack Daniel's. I do really enjoy the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof that they have out right now. But when I saw this on the shelf and I bought it, it was around $65. I really wasn't expecting great things, but then man, once we tasted it, Trent and I were all over the place trying to look for another one. And luckily I have one more in the closet. Once this is done, I'll have one more. I really hope that Jack Daniel's will continue this process with their special release rye on a yearly basis, because this is just outstanding. Now, to be honest, as a single barrel, the proof levels, they will vary just a little bit. My bottle is 130.4 proof. Now, that's a lot. But I'm being as honest as I can be with you. I have never had this over ice. The flavors of this particular rye whiskey are so good that I don't want to dilute it at all. Does it give you a tingle on your tongue? Absolutely. Is it a little hot? Right off the bat when you're trying to get used to it? Absolutely. But once you get past that first little bit, it's so worth it. This particular bottle is just layered in sweetness. A lot of maple, burnt caramel. I mean, you go on and on. It's just, I was shocked when I opened this and tested this bottle and tasted it for the first time. You had to go back to it a few times to really grasp all the sweetness. You do have some rye spice there. The proof is a little hot, but man, is it 100% worth it. If I had any guest over here at SLB that asked for a special rye whiskey and I slid this Jack Daniel's single barrel rye in front of them, they'd be blown away. So that, my friends, is my Impress Your Guest rye whiskey. Our final category is a special occasion rye whiskey. This particular whiskey that I want to show you, this rye whiskey, we were just lucky to be able to get it. It's the Michter's Barrel Strength Toasted Barrel Finish rye whiskey. Now, a little bit of the story on this one. Was it you, Trent, or was it Kent that told me about this? I think it was my brother. It was my brother Kent. He called me. He said, hey, there's only a couple of these left. You better get here if you want one. I'm like, man, I'm at work. There's nothing that I could do about it. And I thought, for a split second, I thought, you know what, I'm going to call my wife. I called her, and believe it or not, she was legitimately right down the street from the liquor store. She went for about $80-85. She'd purchased this bottle of Michter's Barrel Strength Toasted Barrel Finish. It's very, very fortunate to get it. It is hard to find, but I'm going to promise you this: if you ever see it, and if you ever run across it for a good price, pick it up. You will not be disappointed. This particular rye whiskey with the toasted barrel finish, it just leans towards a lot of toasty sweetness, and the best way I can describe it is it's like cinnamon toast crunch. I know it sounds odd and it sounds funny, but I swear to God, that's really, really what it tastes like. And I'm going to take just a second to read the back label for you, because it'll give you a great description of this bottle. We are proud to offer this special release of our Toasted Barrel Finish Rye Whiskey. After full maturation in a hand-selected charred white oak barrel, we finished this U.S. single barrel straight rye whiskey in a new uncharred barrel that has been toasted to our exacting specifications. At peak flavor, it is further mellowed by our signature filtration. So with that last finish of this whiskey in a toasted barrel, it just gives it that much more depth of flavor. You get a little bit of the rye spice to it, but not a lot. But most of all, you get a real toasty, actually almost like a s'mores even type thing to it, type of flavor to it. Again, cinnamon toast crunch. This particular bottle comes in at 109.6 proof. It's a Michter's release, of course. I can't say more good things about it. Very lucky, very grateful we were able to get this bottle, and this has to be our choice of rye whiskey for a special occasion. Let's take a minute and review my choices for the 5 rye whiskeys that you need. My first choice, without question, for a daily drinker was this Pikesville Rye. Leans a little bit more towards the bourbon at 51% rye on the mash bill, but it's a beautiful, beautiful pour. My choice for the cheap mixer has to be this Rittenhouse Rye. How do you go wrong with Rittenhouse Rye? Excellent choice for cheap mixer. My Friday night pour, one of my favorite ryes in the whole bar, this Willett Family Reserve 4-year, very bold and aggressive, in your face with some wonderful flavors. My Impress Your Guest rye whiskey has to be this Jack Daniel's Special Release Rye, barrel proof, single barrel. Is it hot? Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the sweetness that comes out of this bottle will just blow you away. Last but not least, my special occasion rye whiskey, this Michter's Barrel Strength Toasted Barrel Finish. For $80-85, luckily we were able to find it at retail. It's just a unique rye whiskey experience. I think that's the best way that I can say it. It's something that you won't find in any other, it's a taste profile you won't find in any other rye whiskey because of that toasted barrel finish. Thank you so much for watching today. We certainly do appreciate it. As always, we ask you to please don't drink and drive. And then we'll see you next time right down here with me in the good old Basement Bourbon Bar. See ya.